welcome back to the shop. So today I'm going to be talking about forges and basically touching on that question, what forge should I build first? Basically, what forge should I be going towards? So for me personally, there's two types of forges I've used, propane and your solid fuel. So charcoal, coal, coke. I used the charcoal, coal, and coke for 7 years, and I've been using the propane for roughly about 7 years as well. I'm going to actually get into why I actually use the propane a little bit more than the solid fuel one, and what actually was my ultimate decision to go propane and not continue using coal. And some of you might be surprised with the answer. So I'm not going to just stand here and tell you which one you're going to need, because I can't tell you which one is best for you. And there's a lot of decisions you have to make of which one you go with. Now I can sit here and tell you the pros and cons about all the forge types, and it's not going to help you because there's other things that you have to look into with your forge than, what size of material you're going to work on. What are you going to be doing, giant scrolls and stuff? That's all important factors, and I've seen many YouTube videos talk about that. But there's a lot of stuff that you also have to look at that those videos don't touch on, which I'm hoping my video does. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of work around the shop and talking to you a little bit about what I feel and my humble opinion about forges, and what are some of the things you have to look at when you're actually ultimately making a decision on your forge. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do, like, subscribe, share, and yeah. Basically, there's 5 types of forges that I know of, from the most common to a little bit more of unknown. So the most common, like I already mentioned, was the solid fuel, so that's your coke, coal, your propane, or natural gas, which is your gas forges. There's also your induction heating forges, which basically uses magnetic force to heat up the steel. You also got your electric ones, which is basically like a kiln or an oven for your steel, which uses a resistant coil to heat up, blah blah. And then you also have your liquid forges, which is similar to how an old oil furnace would work, where it takes either diesel or heating oil and it vaporizes it and makes it into almost a gas itself, and you burn it into a chamber and stuff like that. So those are the 5 types of forges I know about. If you know of any more, don't put it in the comment and all that, and if there's a video about a different forge than those 5, let me know, because I actually am interested in all that. So, making the decision about what forge to build, I would say there's 2 really key components, two really important things that you have to look at. Money and your location. Which one's more important? Well, that's all going to depend on you. So let's talk about the money first. How much money can you actually put in to build a forge? I would say that your solid fuel, so your coal forges, are the cheapest to build. You can build one next to nothing using an old brake drum that you get free from a mechanic, slapping some scrap metal together, putting a tube at the bottom, and having a blower. Propane's a little bit more expensive. You have to get burners, your fire bricks to hold your flame and stuff, and you go on from there with your electric ones and all that. If money wasn't an object, you know what? I probably would have a coal, a propane, an induction, electric. Yeah. So yeah, really it comes down to how much money do you have to spend on a forge. If you don't have much at all and you're trying to get blacksmithing on a budget, a real small budget, then maybe you have no choice but to use charcoal. I see nothing wrong with that. Now we get into your location. So this one actually was a key factor on me. My shop currently is sitting in my backyard in a residential area. I'm close to my neighbors, and just thinking of burning coal, and every morning I'll start up and I'll have a nice plume of green smoke if I didn't make my coke right the earlier day. Felt that my neighbors might not like that. Also, bylaws for my place. I would have to actually get a double wall stainless steel chimney for my forge, which means building permits and a lot of money in stainless steel piping. I priced my side draft forge chimney to be close to $1,000 Canadian, and that was 7 years ago. Yeah. So, location does play a part of it, and what you're actually allowed to do on your property that you're working for. Now, if you have really nice neighbors and you're just doing charcoal, which really doesn't give off that nasty green smoke in the morning, you know what, you might be okay just doing it in your backyard with the charcoal and getting it going. See nothing wrong. When I first started blacksmithing, I actually was on a farm. I could make basically anything I wanted. I didn't have to worry about bothering neighbors, about noise or smoke or anything like that. So, and the bylaw officer never came by, so I could make my chimney out of, you know, just regular single wall steel. I was also in my shop was actually open air, as in it wasn't really covered, it was just a tarp over top of me for first. And the second shop I had out there was actually a steel shipping container, so I didn't have to worry about burning it down if the pipe got too hot. So that was one of the factors why I started looking at propane. You know, just what I could actually do with the property and how close my neighbors were. And moving into a new place, and all of a sudden I have lovely smoke coming out of my chimney, neighbors might talk a little bit. So you got to think about that. What's your location? And another thing about location is, well, how easy can you get the fuel? Because I'm very fortunate where I am. I can get propane easily. I can get, you know, your heating oil, your diesel, or your liquid forges easily. And I can get coal actually really easy too. Really good blacksmith coal, which is another blacksmith about half an hour away from me, drive away from me, called FAC. He has really good blacksmith coal for anyone in southern Ontario. Go over to FAC and actually get it. Can't remember how much it is, but he's always good. He always uses it. So, but going back, how easy is it to get that fuel? Now, charcoal is probably the easiest fuel to get in almost every country, if not every country. You know, there's advantages and disadvantages to charcoal. But if that's all you can get, then use charcoal. You have countries where coal is being taxed now so much that from a point of view of how much it costs for coal, it's impossible to actually run your forge with coal. Same thing with electricity and using the electric forges like your induction and, well, your electric forges. The electricity might be so high that you just can't make a profit at all with it. And propane, you might be 2 hours away from the closest place that actually sells propane, or you might not have natural gas in your area, so you might not have that option to get that fuel type. And that is all stuff that you need to think about, seriously think about when you're actually building a forge, because nothing's worse than spending $500 on a propane forge and you find out you can't get propane. Let's flip this around to see if it's easier. Yeah, when you're punching eyes, make sure you get it lined, because nothing's worse than trying to clean out your eye. Anyways, so going back, definitely your location, I would say, is probably your most important thing you have to look at when you're thinking about a forge. A lot of these videos I see, you know, you're talking about guys that have a shop in a spot, in an industrial spot, where they can practically burn anything they want, make as much noise as they want, and they're probably in a center where you can get these fuels really easy. So I think it's kind of funny that, you know, here we got these smiths that can run any fuel, and they're saying, oh no, this is the fuel you have to run. That really is not realistic for you. Especially if you're starting off, you're not going to go out and rent an industrial building. Well, maybe you can if you have, you know, more money than you know what to do with. So I'm trying to make it, you know, realistic for you guys. So yeah, there's a lot of other factors. I know with running propane, I use multiple forges. Like I'm going to be building a smaller forge for my smaller stuff, just so I can run more efficiently, propane-wise, for the smaller stuff, because I don't need to heat up a huge chamber to do, you know, my little nail hooks, or even just regular hooks. I don't need a huge, you know, foot by foot cube, you know, chamber for that. Where I'm also probably going to have to build a bigger propane forge, so when I actually get more into doing giant axes. But anyways, where if I was running coal all the time, that wouldn't be an issue. So yeah, that is a factor. What do you plan on doing? But really, a lot of your location is actually going to define what you are going to be actually making. So ultimately, why I choose to switch over to propane was not because it was more efficient. It wasn't because I didn't want to maintain a fire in the coal. If that's how you feel, that's okay. Propane is really easy. You start it up. You can control temperature pretty well, and you can work multiple irons at once. But I've also known smiths that have been doing it for 20 some odd years that only run coal, and they can easily have 5 irons in their coal forge and never burn a single one. And it's all about fire control. And they've done it so long that it's second nature to control that fire that they don't even think about it, and they can actually just continue working and talking and instructing people without even thinking about it. Like I said, it's second nature. So, yeah, it could be a valid point for beginners. And yeah, I will say, propane, it's easy to control. But if you want something really easy to control, and you can control your temperature really well, why not electric? And put a thermostat on it. And if you have an electric forge, you can also use that to harden your knives and use that as your heat treating oven. So, I guess it's a valid point, but really, like I said, you want to spend $500 on a propane forge that you can't even get propane for? So, yeah, why I choose propane? It's my location. Like I said, to get that coal forge going, I had to go to the bylaw office. I had to get a permit to put a chimney on my shop. And just the materials alone for that chimney, double wall stainless steel, was going to be more than $1,000 Canadian. It's a lot of money to run just a forge. It would have made its money back. But how would I actually even be able to do that? Where my propane forge, I got it from Mighty Forge. I believe it was $800 with shipping in, got delivered to my door. And Mighty Forge is a company that's out of British Columbia, Canada, that sells forges. Already everything you need, regulator, burners, everything. It's all set up. You just put on a tank and you go. I've had it 7 years. Yeah, it needs relining, but it's still good. To me, it made sense. Would I have liked to use coal still? There's a lot of projects that, yeah, that coal forge would have been very handy. But you make do. And one thing that also I love hearing, and it's a little bit more of the, I don't want to say undereducated, but yeah, kind of undereducated people. And it's not necessarily Smiths that say this, it's actually just regular public, is that, oh, he uses, propane, or he uses, whatever. He's not using the solid fuel. He's not using coal. He's not a real blacksmith. Well, I guarantee you 1,000 years ago, blacksmiths could use propane. They probably would. If you really want to go to a traditional, you would be using charcoal. The only reason why Smiths actually went to coal is because it was easy. It was cheaper to get for the amount of heat it put out. And it put out a lot more heat than your charcoal. So, the whole, if you're going for that, if you're going for a period forge, that's great. Use your coal. But if you're doing it as, your modern blacksmith, don't hold yourself because traditionally they use coal. Because traditionally it would have been charcoal. That's just my opinion. And like I said, if propane was available 1,000 years ago, they would have used propane. So to sum up this video, because I've talked already long enough, location is going to dictate a lot about your forge. A lot more than a lot of these other videos say. And yeah, there's advantages to propane, there's disadvantages to propane. There's advantages to charcoal and coal, in. Really, it comes down to your location. So make sure you take that into factor when you're starting to go out and figure out how to make a forge. Like I said, you want to just try out blacksmithing and see what it is. You can do that in a fire pit. The charcoals you got left with from the fire, you know, the weekend before when you had a bonfire or something like that. Just put a hose in it, well, a metal tube, and put a blower on it. Start up the fire and you can get that hot enough to forge. But yeah, your location is probably the most important thing you have to look at when you're building a forge. It's what I have to do. And you know what? I don't regret it. So, what's the best forge for you? Only you can tell yourself that. I can't. I hope this video helped a little bit and that you got a little bit of insight on it. A little bit of insight of what you really should be thinking about when you're building a forge. When you first started out. Now, when you've been doing it for a while and all that, well, yeah, the pieces you plan on moving to and working on will dictate a lot about your forge. But your location is going to dictate that a lot more. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.